I DNF'd them, they were boring, they're just not my taste anymore, or they're problematic as hell. Hey folks, it's Abby from Abby of Pellinor, and today I am going to be doing a big unhaul of quite a few of my books. I was inspired by 1,000,001 different people. I've seen so many unhaul videos lately, but especially Olivia Savannah from Olivia's Catastrophe. She's inspired me in multiple ways, one of them with her frequent and heavy unhauling, and the other with the fact that half of her unhauling books keep coming to me. It's my own fault. And so I really do need to get rid of some of the books on my shelves. So there's space, as you can just about see, like there's some little spaces appearing now. There are some books here that I cannot for the life of me remember if I've done in an unhaul video, but we hadn't got around to going to the charity shop yet. So they've just been sat on my shelves for ages, so I'm going to go through that stack first, and then all of the ones that I've picked off recently. So let's start with two big ones, and they are both by Stephen King. This one is The Bazaar of Bad Dreams, and this one is 11/22/63. This one, I'm like, oh, should I keep it? But they're both going. I have read a little bit of Stephen King now, and his writing style is not for me. I don't enjoy it. I'm about 100 pages into 200 pages into this one, 100 pages into this one, and I don't care enough to carry on at all. So what's the point? Why not let them go off to someone who will actually enjoy these books? Hopefully. Another big book, and that is American Gods by Neil Gaiman. I really like Neil Gaiman as a person. This book was very mixed for me. I had more in-depth thoughts on it at the time that I read it. I've read the whole thing. It is both interestingly done. It's got gods from all denominations, and it's fantastic, the research that he's put into that, but it's also just problematic as heck. And I don't care, so it's going. I think that I'm going to ask my other half, because I bought him, this TV tie-in edition, so it may be that this one is leaving and the pretty one is staying, but we'll see. That is up to him rather than up to me. One more Neil Gaiman that I'm letting go to a better home is The Ocean at the End of the Lane. This one I enjoyed a lot more than American Gods. I actually found this one quite interesting. I read it a fair few years ago now, back in like 2018, and it was an interesting book, but not one I'm ever going to revisit. So I'm just going to let this one depart and enjoy someone else's life. I got it secondhand as well, and it's still in good nick, so someone else can enjoy this. Then we have two historical fictions. One of them is Three Sisters, Three Queens by Philip Gregory. I DNF'd this last year after trying to skim through the end of it. The concept is very interesting. It was really interesting to learn about the women who were around. I've got a piece of hair here. The women who were around Henry VIII. The execution was poorly done. It makes it seem like it's going to be from 3 different points of view. It is from one. And it's not very well written for my personal tastes. So this one is going to depart. Thank you very much to my wonderful little sister who got this for me, but it's gonna go. It's not great. And then the other one, it's a bit more fantastical, and that is Sepulture by Kate Moss. This is actually leaving because this edition is all battered and tatty, and I found a nicer edition. So I've become that person, but yeah, that's what I've done. That's why this is leaving. I'll accept no judgment, thank you. I've donated to charity, it's fine. That's where I got both of those, from charity shops. Okay, then we have some beloved YA books that are leaving. So first up we have the Legend trilogy, so Legend, Prodigy and Champion. I read them, they were enjoyable. I would have enjoyed them more if I read them when I was younger. I have no need to keep these. They are a dystopian YA based in the United States. There's nothing wrong with the books, there's nothing that I particularly love about them. I did end up getting reasonably invested in the relationship in here, which is well done considering that's quite hard to do for me, but they do not need to stay in my life. One of the most popular authors on BookTube, on BookTok, on Bookstagram, Sarah J. Maas. So Throne of Glass is leaving me. Again, I feel like this is one of the series that I could have... Oh, I've annotated this. Oh, that's what these tabs are. It's me insulting people. Wonderful. But yes, I could have really enjoyed this if I'd read it when I was 18, 17, 16, 15, maybe even 14, 13. I'm 26, and unfortunately at this stage in my life, where I'm at with what I'm reading and what I prefer to read, this is not currently where I'm at, and I don't believe I will be returning, which makes me sad because I'm pretty much sure that I would have really enjoyed these books if I'd read them when I was younger. I think Carrie from Caring for Books enjoyed them, and she read them at the right age, and we have essentially the same taste, so I think I would have really enjoyed them if I had read them when I was younger, but I didn't, so it's going, and someone will be very excited to see that. Then we have Cassandra Clare, and we have A Clockwork Angel. This is the first book in the Infernal Devices trilogy, and I kept this because it was on a TBR when I was doing my last major unhaul. I read it, it was fine, very, very quick to read. I can see why people like these books. You blast through them. The writing is done very well in terms of getting you to speed through the book, but I just don't care. Perfectly acceptable book, nothing particularly wrong with it, nothing particularly right with it, so it can go. One that I'm debating is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J Maas. Not because I particularly liked nor disliked it, but because I painted these edges myself. There's only one of me. It was one of the first ever painted edges I did, and part of me wants to keep it just for that. So this one is on the fence. It'll probably go because that makes the most sense, but I'm not quite sure just yet, so no judgment. Thank you. And then the last one of the ones that I may have mentioned previously is Sabriel by Garth Nix. This one I adore, 5-star read, so excited to carry on with the rest of the series. This copy I got second hand from Barter Books in Alnwick, and I had, by the wonderful Caitlin from My Cheshire Rabbit, the entire, up to that point, series in paperback bought for me in a matching box set in beautiful editions and white covers. Mwah. So this can go. This can go, and someone else can, for the low price of however much this will be priced for in a charity shop, 1, 2, 3 quid, they can enjoy Sabriel. So thank you. Now we have the new ones that I've been going through. I was inspired by my other half. He has a lot of books. This is his bookshelf, but he doesn't really read. He games. It works, it works. But yes, he went through when we were taking all these books out and decided to get rid of some books. They are currently sat in a nice pile. These ones, which ironically I think I'm stealing a couple of. He's getting rid of a fair few books, and so I was inspired to also go through my shelves. I think I may keep these because they're interesting. Herbs for Magic and Ritual, and A Guide to Solitary Witchcraft. I don't know why he has these, and I don't know what I intend to do with them, but I want them. So that's how that's going. So I went through my shelves and decided that I was going to get through and get rid of a lot of the books on my shelves that I enjoyed at the time. You know, they were 3 stars at the time, but they faded because they no longer hold any interest for me. So I am going to start off instead with 2 books that are more recent intended reads. One of them I DNF'd, unfortunately, which is A Tall History of Sugar by Curdella Forbes. There is nothing wrong with this book, it is just not for me. It is a historical fiction set in 50s Jamaica, late 50s Jamaica, and it just wasn't for me, unfortunately. The writing style, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's just not intended for myself. It's not the sort of book that I enjoy to read, and I think that donating this once again, because this was given to me by Olivia, is the best option for this book to get out there into the hands of someone who's really going to love it, however beautiful this edition may be. And then also, on a slightly less positive note, we have Vox by Christina Dalcher. I did a TikTok book short, YouTube short video on this one, and the author, despite me not tagging her, found my YouTube short and shared it with all of her followers. She is a TERF. She is anti-trans, she is transphobic, she has vocally stated that she deeply supports individuals like J.K. Rowling, etc., and I do not wish to support somebody like that. My point was further solidified by her finding my review and her reactions to that. My video is still up on my channel if you want to see it. If you want to look her up and look at her tweets, they're there. This is going. And then we are on to books that I have finished, I have completed, but I have decided are leaving my life. We have books 2 and 3 in the Kane Chronicles by Rick Riordan. This is Throne of Fire and the Serpent's Shadow. The first one is the Red Pyramid, and I already unhauled that. I donated that to my old primary school, elementary for Americans. I wish I hadn't. I really enjoyed this series. I really loved it. The first one was the worst book for me. It was still good. It was like 3.5 stars. But I was like, oh, these will just be fine. And then I've ended up loving them. So I'm going to get rid of these. If at some point in the future I have the shelf space and the opportunity to buy the full series, then I will. But at the minute, I've only got 2 and 3. I'm not going to go and get book 1 back from my old school. So I may as well let the kids there enjoy this as much as I did, add this to their collection, and then I can always, as an adult, purchase the full set later on, if I wish. Another younger series, and that is the Medusa Project series by Sophie McKenzie. I read these primarily when I was pretty young. They are The Setup, The Rescue, Hostage, Hit Squad, Hunted, and Double Cross, not in this order. And I only got this one, Hit Squad, not that long ago. I got it from Barter Books, I believe. But yes, so I didn't get it long ago, and it's like 3 years ago. And I really enjoyed this when I was younger, a teenager. It's like genetically mutated kids. Very much a fun series. I really enjoyed reading them, but they don't have enough of an emotional attachment for me to keep them. Like the Ali Carter books, I was ever so slightly obsessed. And like, they will never be leaving me. However childish they are, I adore them so much. But these ones, whilst they are close, they are no cigar. They are going to go off to a better home where some other young people, some teenagers, can actually enjoy these in the way that they're supposed to. This is the theme of a lot of this, is like, I'm never going to reread these. Like, I could see myself rereading these ones. These, less so. Similar to Vox, but not the same, and that is The Power by Naomi Alderman. I have not even thought of researching whether this author has anything to say on gender. Not looked into it. That's not why I'm getting rid of this. I'm getting rid of this because it was just fine. I read it at the time, and at the time I found it really impactful. Looking back now, with further knowledge and development and growth as a woman, it's fine. It's a similar concept to Vox, in that women are seen as lesser, and then in this one they're suddenly not. They suddenly have the power to electrocute people, and some use that for evil, some use that for good. I did like the fact that it didn't just have all women being wonderful, amazing human beings. A cult classic, The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. I enjoyed this. I thought it was a really interesting, really heart-rending at some points book. Never gonna reread it. All the Walls of Belfast by Sarah J. Carlson. This was sent to me by the author and was supposed to be so that I would then interview her on my book blog, which has not been active this year. And instead, despite the fact that she sent me this, she sent me like some signed stickers, some like little bits, you know, like pins and bookmarks. She then ghosted me when it came time to do the interview. Interesting. Also interesting is that she is an American writing about the Troubles in Northern Ireland. That is a very sensitive topic. I do have some knowledge on it, more than just generic British knowledge, and I don't think that she does it a great disservice, but I also don't think she is the voice to be talking about it. So, you know, she is a smaller author. She's published by Turner Publishing, who I haven't actually heard of. It is an ARC, so I'm like, okay, is this getting donated? Is this recycled? I assume recycled. But yeah, it's going regardless. The Book of Mirrors by Io Chirivici. This one I was lent by a friend. I read it. It was fine. She really enjoyed it, and I just didn't, unfortunately. So this is not being donated either. This one is going back to said friend eventually. Then Black Eyed Susans by Julia. I keep calling her Julia Heaberlin. She's German. She's not German. She's American. Julia Heaberlin. This was a really interesting thriller. I really enjoyed it. I thought that the discussion of mental health and trauma and PTSD were really well done. Just, yeah, everything in here I enjoyed. I will never reread it though. Like, I'm never going to reread this, and I'm trying to be strict. This is also why I end up with a lot of science fiction fantasy on my shelf, because I feel like they have a lot more rereadability than things like contemporaries and thrillers. But yes, it's going. Stephen King, The Outsider. The actual writing, really enjoyed. Problematic elements, didn't like. The writing only, 4 stars. But with everything else, it can go off to someone else. Ink by Alice Broadway. This is a YA series about you get tattoos all over your skin to kind of denote and mark important moments in your life, both good and bad. And then when you die, your skin is like shed and cut up into a book. And then people can look through the book, and if you were a good person, your family can keep the book, and if you were a bad person, your book gets yeeted. And it's about a young girl whose dad passes away. And it's like, yeetage? No yeetage. Why yeetage? Eloquent as always. This is a very, very good YA book. I really enjoyed it at the time, and I read this, you know, past the age range. I read this when I was like 20. Very much enjoyed it. Not something I'm going to want to pick up now. My tastes have changed. I do still read some YA, but it does not tend to be this sort of YA, unfortunately, for this book. So instead, it's going to find a new home. A disappointment. The Dust Bowl, or whatever it's called, series. What is the series? Dustlands series by Moira Young. We have Blood Red Road, Rebel Heart, and Raging Star. This book, 5 stars. Take some time to kind of get used to the writing style. It's very, very different. The punctuation is very different. The speech is very different. Moira Young integrates it wonderfully. Rebel Heart was interesting. I think I gave it 3.5, 4 stars. Still interested in the book. And Raging Star was like 2 stars. It's done really badly. It's really predictable. It's really boring. It went from, these are definitely staying on my shelves, to, goodbye. How sad. Then 2 more books that Olivia had sent me. One is My Name is Monster by Katie Hale, and the other is Mrs. Death by Selena Godden. Both of them were very interesting books. There's nothing especially wrong with either of them. I just don't ever want to reread them, even though they're fantasy books. This one, Mrs. Death, it didn't quite capture what I'd hoped it would capture. I love books about death, and this cover is gorgeous, so I was hoping it would capture more of that essence, and it wasn't as dark as I wanted it to be, but it also didn't go as in-depth as I thought it should. It was just a bit disappointing. I'm assuming Olivia felt similarly, and that's why it was sent to me. We don't always agree, which is why I'll try out books that she doesn't want anymore. And then My Name is Monster was an interesting book. I don't know, it was very motherhood focused, and as someone who is not a mother and intends to not ever be a mother at my current stage in life, didn't really resonate, had nothing to kind of, you know, vibe with. And the writing was fine. Compared to another kind of post-apocalyptic, post-disaster book that includes a mother looking after their child, not alone. This was done fantastically. This made me weep, made me cry, 5-star book, 100%, everybody needs to pick this up. Also sent to me by Olivia. And so, you know, it's both mothers caring for children, but this one actually made me care. I still didn't really care about the child, but this one was a lot better written for my personal tastes. This one was written perfectly fine, absolutely nothing wrong with it in the slightest, just not for me. And we are almost done, thankfully. This has been a long video. And yeah, the last books that I am getting rid of are the Fifth Wave trilogy. We've got the Fifth Wave, The Last Star, and The Infinite Sea. I think this is the second one. This is a trilogy that I had actually really enjoyed when I first read through it. It's a lot of fun. Aliens come, they have different waves of, let me put them in the right order, there we go, they've got different waves of like infections and how they're killing people. I enjoyed them at the time. Rick Yancey is a knobhead. I will leave it for you yourself to go and do the research if you wish to, but he's a bit of a dick. I'd actually been hiding these books back here behind where you can't really see. For example, Twilight is in here. That's what lives in here. But Twilight, however awful it may be, I read young enough that it is ingrained as a part of me. This one, not so. And that is my unhaul. I think I managed to get rid of a fair few books. I have not counted them yet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 30, 37. Now I want to find 3 more. I will say, actually, on that note, I am planning on removing these 3 from my TBR, just not from my home. The Ascent of Everest, Sketches by Boz in Hard Times, and a revision course in geography. I picked these up because they were old, and then I was like, oh, I should really read them because they're books that I have. I've decided, screw that. I've tried to read this. It's just like A-level geography. It's just dull to read through again. Sketches by Boz in Hard Times. I bought this in Preston and it's set in Preston. That is why I have it. I've been reliably informed by Caitlin from my Cheshire Rabbit that it is awful. I will try and read it one day. I don't need it on my TBR. And then Ascent of Everest. It sounds really interesting. It sounds really, really interesting. Like, it's someone's memoir, someone's kind of autobiography about him climbing up Everest, and as you can see, it's not that new, so it was done before a lot of modern technology. But being realistic, I have so many books on my TBR, and I'm not reading them. So one day, may I go back and decide to re-add this to my TBR? Perhaps. But for now, it is going to be instead changed from TBR books to decoration, as old beautiful books that they are. So I guess that makes it 40, which wasn't even intentional. They were just sat there because I'm going to move them downstairs and put them on our decorative shelf. But yeah, 40 books off of my shelves. Unfortunately, not all of them off of my TBR, but still, there's space. You can see there's space here, there's space there, there's space there, space there. I'm making room because it has been a problem when I've been finishing books, trying to put them away at the end of the month. Oh, it's a problem. Let me know down below, what is the last book that you unhauled or that you've put on your unhaul pile if you haven't had the chance to actually depart thine self to the charity shop yet? Let me know. And also, how do you unhaul? Do you charity shop? That's primarily what I do. I will be asking my friends if any of them do want these books before I do go and give them to the charity shop, but I am assuming that most of these will be going to charity, other than the ones I mentioned. So yes, let me know what you do with your unhauled books and your most recently unhauled. Thank you so much for watching this very long video. Why are unhauled and hauls always the longest? I think it's because we try and like talk about the books even though it's supposed to just be like, this is going because of this. Instead we chat about them. Anyway, I'm making it longer, so I'm gonna go. It's a lovely day, sunny outside, and we are going to go to the pub. So, have a wonderful day folks, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye!